are. I promised a horse interview today or this weekend. So I thought I would start with Apollo because I love him so much. Yeah, so Apollo is coming 11 this year, and he is American bred. He is on pair out of Dream Rubina, Judy Yancey's fabulous mare. So he's actually a half brother to Hilltop Credit on the mother's side, and then Ampere is his dad. So he was born at Judy's farm. She bred him. And my dear friend Karen Monks Riley, I think got him as a yearling, and she started him, broke him out, took him on, did all his basic training, took him on trail rides over at Fair Hill. Like, he had a wonderful growing up. And when he was 4, and that's pretty, dated brother, she rode him in a clinic with me, and she's like, you have to buy this horse. And I'm like, well, he comes in the arena like all like, super fresh and puffed up, and I was like, well, I'm not getting on that. And she's like, no, he's fine. She goes, really, he's the most sensitive but sensible horse she's ever had. So I'm like, okay. I mean, his walk was really tight, and the trot was really tight, and the canter was super. And I just love the intelligence in his eye, and I loved him. And so then she also brought him over. That's when we were living in Chesapeake City in Maryland, and so she brought him over to the farm there, and she's like, you just totally need to get this horse. She goes, I can't afford the amount of lessons it's gonna take to learn to ride a horse like this. So you should have him, you should buy him. And I was like, okay. Twist my arm. So my dad helped me buy him, and thank you, Joe Tate. And so we bought him, and he was 4 and a half. I think I bought him in the fall, and I took him to Florida. He, I think, struggled a little bit not living in a herd and not being outside a lot. So we have a lot of individual turnouts, and so I think he was a little kind of culture shocked at first, and he came to Maryland right away, and he got in a big turnout, but I put him by himself because it was a big investment, and they all, now I'm a lot more liberal about they can go out together. I used to put everyone together, and then I put nobody together, and now I'm getting a little bit right in the middle. So we went to Florida that year. I think he was still growing and still developing, and so we struggled a little bit with saddle fit. I struggled a little bit with keeping his back, not sore. I think at one point I gave him I just gave him a whole month off, and we sort of like started over. And I did, I think always, we always have to take care of his stomach because he's very sensitive. So he gets, at the moment, some ulcer guards, some gastrofate, but always managing his sensitive tummy is really big. I love this horse because Karen was completely right when she said he's the most sensitive but sensible horse she's had. I find him very electric but very safe, and I mean, there's moments you do feel like you're like on a rocket ship, but he would always take care of me. Like, I know it would never ever turn against me, and that's one of the things I really love, the most about him is that he's let's look a little bit of teeth. And let's see, we were always like 6 months behind the young horse classes. So my dream, because I had gone to Fairden, which was the World Young Horse Championships. I had gone to the 6-year-olds with another horse I had, Prix, who is wonderful. And I thought, this horse is so amazing and talented too. Like, wouldn't that be fun to do that? And he was like, no, that's not in my calendar. So, as Charles always says, the horse is always your calendar. So we were always approximately 6 months behind every young horse class. So it took us about 9 months to make a clean change. I'm just gonna like close his ears for a minute because that took a really long time. And there was a lot of like karate chop kicking. Remember? Do you remember that? It was like pow every time with the right hind leg. I could see it out of the corner of my eye. And it was never like against me because he was like mad or he was just like tight, and so he couldn't quite figure it out. Like just make the normal change. So that took a long time, but he's like this fabulous canter, so that was kind of weird it took so long. But he also didn't love my leg on him, so I couldn't wear spurs on him till he was like 6. Probably during the flying change saga, I probably put my spurs on. Little tiny guys. He is still, I think, working on developing his international trot. Ground poles, I think there's a lesson in the academy about my ground poles, because he would not trot like this if it was not for the work we do with our cavalettis. So he gets worked 5 days a week. We do a lot of stretchy trot in the beginning, a lot of loosening up, and then we do a lot of big canter. He loves big canter, and he's now schooling the Grand Prix, and he is showing really wonderful talent for the Piaffe and the Passage, although he's sometimes like an emotional, it's like emotional. So we worked on coping with the hard stuff. He's up to about 7 to 8 one-time tempies. The pirouettes are coming along really good. So yeah, you know, that's the thing too about every horse kind of has their own journey and travel up the levels, and we always think like, oh, it'll just go like on a straight line and we're just going to be Grand Prix in however many years, and it just never goes quite that easy or that like easily planned. Or we've been really fortunate because he's never, knock on wood, we've never been injured, so that's great. But it does take a lot with his stomach to make sure he's okay, because he's very, very sensitive, and yeah, just needs really good care of his back and of his body. And even now, his muscling has totally changed in the last year. Like, he's really like beefed out, and he's getting very confident. Although I do call him my lion from the Wizard of Oz, that he lacks a little courage. So like the tripod of the cameraman at the horse show is very scary for him. And he's funny because like if I force him to go down there and like put him on the bit and kick him and, you know, make him go down there, he's like, ah, you know, he's like way more scared because now I'm attacking him. But if I put him on the buckle and I just like let him like, you could go down there, then he's like, oh, we could just saunter down there and see who's, oh, is that Sally with the camera? And then he's like super normal about the whole thing. Another funny thing that Apollo does is he squeals a lot. He is very vocal. He whinnies to me all the time. And I laugh because I always say his name really high pitched. I'm always like, Apollo! And then his whinny's pretty high pitched, so I sometimes feel bad that maybe I created the high pitch. I talk to him in a high pitch. It's always like, "Paddle, paddle, paddle." You know, I always am a big geek. Stable, but you know, my horses love it and they love me, so that's what makes me so happy every day. Things Apollo has as highlights, I would say, flying changes for sure. Like that took a long time to teach him those, and there was a lot of emotion and there was a lot of kicking, and it was a struggle, and now it's one of his best things he does, so that's kind of cool. I would say Piaffe and Passage is like, there's a lot of talent there. I think his favorite thing to do in the whole entire world is extended trot. We love that. We love to be fancy and as like big as possible. So it's been probably the biggest challenge, as you could probably imagine, is toning him down. Like I always tell him, I don't need both of your turbo engines. Like we could cut one off. Like we only need one, because he's incredibly powerful and totally enthusiastic and a little bit like falls over himself to please me. And so there's a lot of like, Paulo, just do less, you know, and that's one of the hardest things I think to do, is teach an ambitious horse to just maybe give me like half of that. You know, there's a lot of horses that you need to kind of kick and motivate and, you know, whatever, and he's always like doing too much. He's thinking too fast, he's thinking too much, he's giving too much physical effort, he's trying too hard, you know, and so it's been really fun to, he's so different from, you know, Fiji, who is my last big top horse and won the 4-star down here last year in the Grand Prix. And so it's been really fun to bring Apollo along because he's just like so energetic, you know, and there's just always like, he will always joke, but he's always got his like jazz hands. Yeah, I'm joking about your jazz hands. But he's totally awesome and we love him very much. And we had an awesome lesson today with Allie this morning. So sometimes I love this horse so much, and I will admit, sometimes I get really frustrated because there's just so much in this horse, and I want to do such a good job for him because he deserves that. So sometimes I get like, oh, maybe I could ride him better, or I could do something different, or I'm always like blaming myself. And so that's why it's so great to have Allie on the team, and she talked me off the ledge today, so that was really great. And yeah, it's just great, and that's why we need like a team to help us when things aren't going quite as we planned, or we're not sure what's going on, or you've got a horse that you know, maybe you need to think a little bit outside the box. So that's something that Apollo has definitely helped me with, is, you know, really honor who he is, and maybe he needs me to think a bit more about something in a little bit different way, and for me to be open-minded to listen to him and attempt to, you know, do things in a way that he understands a little bit more. So yeah, what else? What else? He goes in his back on track blanket at night. He got poultice today. You can see he's got his wraps on because he had a good lesson today. He, yeah, has a trilogy saddle and got a nice new bit and bridle from Bits and Such. And I don't know, what else? What else should we talk about, you? He likes to eat as much hay as possible, and he loves to go out for turnout, and he's really well behaved most of the time. He loves to hand graze, and he loves to be around people all the time. He is like such a people horse. And yeah, I think that's about it. So if you guys ever have any questions about any of my horses, you can always feel free to ask me. I love to talk about them all the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little interview with Apollo. We're not going to show like our goals for this season. We're not going to show. We really want to get the Grand Prix really settled and secure and confident. And then we'll kind of see where that goes for the summer. He's quite good at horse shows. He's been shown. I showed him when he was 5 and 6, and you know we're doing a lot of shows, and he's pretty good about it. Again, I think the last couple of years he got a little overwhelmed with global, but I think for him right now, him learning the Grand Prix is the biggest hurdle we're facing in the next 4 months. So I want to take as much time with our time down here in Florida. I think Uncle Stephen might come out next week to help me a little bit too. I'm calling all friends to come help me. But he's so worth it and amazing. So next time we see you, hopefully we'll be in the Grand Prix ring. So cheer us on and give us some good vibes and make it a great night.